Hello and welcome to the program, UFO Warning. In this episode, we're talking about Sleeping Dog and Top Secret Papers. That's correct, Sleeping Dog and Top Secret Papers. Now, this has to do with a new movie coming out by Jeremy Corbell called Sleeping Dog. It looks interesting. Jeremy is kind of a polarizing figure sometimes, although I really liked that movie he did, Patient 17. Even though he cursed all the way through it, I thought it was still a very interesting concept, and the cinematography on it was neat. I found it to be really not just entertaining, but really captivating. Asked a lot of really cool questions. It was about implants. Highly recommend you check that out. So I'm not here to bash Jeremy Corbell, but I thought it'd be kind of fun just to take a look at some of his stuff. Now, I did a little AI research, and it tells us that Jeremy Corbell is one of the most visible and polarizing figures in modern UFOs. In the modern UFO scene. He's not a traditional academic or scientist. He's a filmmaker, self-described investigative journalist, and disclosure advocate who operates at the intersection of media, intelligence leaks, and fringe research. Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. Background and career path. It says Corbell's path is unusual, which partly explains his style. He started out in mixed martial arts and fitness training, not journalism or science. Transitioned into filmmaking, focusing on mysteries, fringe science, and UFO phenomena. Became closely associated with veteran investigative reporter George Knapp, a key figure in bringing UFO stories into mainstream media since the 1980s. George Knapp is old school. I mean, he's been around for a really long time, and I always enjoyed listening to him. I maybe not agree with everything he says or does, but he's put so much stuff out there. It's always fun listening to him on Coast to Coast years ago. I mean, yeah, cool stuff. His breakout moment came with the documentary Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers. Yeah, he did pretty good with that, which revived and popularized the controversial claims of Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar, I've talked about him before. Like I said, he's an enigma to me. He's said a lot of stuff that's really interesting, and some of it seems like it's almost been a little bit predictive. But then I read an article a couple of days ago where it's talking about Bob doing an interview or something and having to bring with him a prep guy to talk to him before the interview. It's almost like he can't remember things. I don't know. I think he did pass the polygraph, though. I honestly do not know what to think about this guy. I should know by now. We've talked about Bob Lazar so much, but every time I think I got this guy figured out, something happens that kind of makes me look at him from the other direction, so I just don't know. It goes on, it says, Corbell's influence really surged after 2020 because of his involvement in releasing U.S. military UAP footage. See, they're completely glossing over the Patient 17. I think Patient 17 was some of his best work because the alien implant thing, that goes to the whole heart of this. If these things are abducting people and putting implants in them, this is at a whole different level, okay? That just kind of negates the whole idea that it's a government psyop, that they're here to sing Kumbaya with us. It shows them for what they are, and that's predatory, in my opinion. So Patient 17, that is the key for me. Anyway, he helped publicize videos like the Pyramid UFO and spherical craft footage. He has collaborated with insiders and whistleblowers, including figures like David Grusch and David Fravor. He has reportedly briefed members of Congress on UAP evidence. Yeah, we know he had that little blow up last year where he thought somebody had undercut him. And his approach is part journalism, part advocacy. Critics argue he sometimes promotes claims without sufficient verification, while supporters see him as a key figure pushing transparency on a historically suppressed topic. Honestly, I really, really wish that Jeremy would go back in and do more research and more exposure on this implant stuff. That to me is the most interesting thing out there, but you can't find anything on it. What is Sleeping Dog? Well, it says it's a documentary. The director is Michael Lazowski. Its release date's coming up here May 26, and the subject is Jeremy Corbell himself and the broader UFO disclosure movement. Now, the premise is a biography of Corbell and a narrative about the modern UFO disclosure movement. The film follows Corbell as he operates inside a high-stakes push to expose what he believes is hidden government knowledge about UAPs. The Battle for Disclosure. The documentary frames the UFO disclosure as an ongoing conflict, government secrecy versus public transparency, insiders versus institutional denial, and evidence versus stigma. Corbell is positioned as someone trying to force that issue into the open. Here again, you're setting yourself up in conflict with the deep state. I don't think that's necessary. I think that our time would be better spent reviewing films people have taken, going over New Fork reports, talking to these people that have had implants removed, getting their stories, and just going about this as an exercise of eyewitness accounts, of abduction victims' accounts, and maybe talk about the missing person connection. David Paulides has done all kinds of work on that. I watch this stuff all the time. I'm a huge fan. And maybe we could look at some kind of possible connection there. Maybe look at the connection with the cattle mutilations. But to me, like 10% of the evidence is controlled by the government, which is still a lot. But the other 90% is out there in the open domain where anybody can look at it, where you don't need government permission. I don't know, man. It says that the film features interviews and appearances from major figures in UFO lore in recent hearings, including Edgar Mitchell, he's passed away now, John B. Alexander, John Lear, I believe he's also passed away, David Grusch, and Bob Lazar. I'd rather talk to experiencers. I really would. The lineup signals the film's angle. It leans heavily into first-hand testimony rather than purely scientific analysis. One of the more interesting aspects is that it tracks his transformation from an outsider, it's a martial artist, to filmmaker, documenting these fringe topics, and then to someone at the center of the UAP conversation. This narrative arc is meant to show how a non-traditional figure became influential in a topic long dominated by government insiders and niche researchers. I think it also shows that anybody who's talented or just tries hard enough at communicating can get out there and share the information, and there's enough people interested in something that's so common and so obvious that we're all interested in finding out what it is. It says the marketing emphasizes that parts of the film were shot covertly or with restricted access, suggesting sensitive sources, potentially controversial material, and a tone of urgency and risk. That framing is very much in line with Corbell's brand, information that's hidden, contested, and possibly explosive. The problem you run into when you do this, and I'm not trying to be nasty toward Jeremy Corbell or any of these other guys, the problem is that you lose chain of custody on this stuff. That's what I liked about his movie Patient 17, because you went right to the people that were abducted, talked to them about their experiences, went through them with the process where they got these implants removed, tried to figure out what they were, never could, but you went on this journey with the person who was victimized by these things, and you got first-person testimony. And like the one fellow, he was a Christian, and he just couldn't accept that these aliens were real and that it wasn't some kind of secret government program, but it was these strange alien things that had captured him against his will and placed this implant in him. And he was so devastated by it, I don't think he was even able to do the exit interview with Jeremy. That's real stuff. And that's the stuff that we need to be talking about, because it's really happening to people. Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that maybe they have mental health issues, maybe they're confused, maybe they just had a vivid nightmare. But we need to find the ones that are actually real, and people like Jeremy that have the resources. I certainly don't have the resources to do this, but these people that have these access to millions of dollars to make a movie, it'd be so awesome if they could really sort out some of these cases where you have the implants, where you have physical evidence that we can examine, and then we can work our way back from there, where you're not just talking about, well, this is somebody's experience. Anyway, it goes on, it says, this film documents a historic moment in UFO disclosure, especially post-2017 Pentagon disclosures, gives voices to insiders who claim there is a crash retrieval program, that there's non-human technology, and continues pushing the topic into mainstream conversation. Corbell is often accused of overhyping ambiguous evidence, relying on anecdotes over verifiable data. His films tend to advocate a position rather than neutrally investigate, so Sleeping Dog is unlikely to convert skeptics, but it may energize believers and those already interested. This is the bottom line is Jeremy Corbell is a central media figure in modern UFO disclosure, part filmmaker, part activist. The Sleeping Dog is essentially his most ambitious project yet, a self-focused documentary, a statement on government secrecy, and a snapshot of the current UFO movement. If his earlier work tried to legitimize individual cases like Bob Lazar, this film aims higher. It's trying to frame the entire UFO issue as a suppressed truth on the verge of breaking open. Well, there is something to be said for that because personally, I can really see a change in the way a lot of people are viewing this stuff. You don't get quite as many giggles as you used to if you talk about it. I think people are becoming open to this notion that there actually is something there. Now, going on with this film a little bit, I found this article over on theexpress.com. It says top nuclear facility official left secret UFO stash, quote unquote, for son with 100% proof. Now, whenever I see the word proof, I typically would rather see the word evidence because unless what you're saying is real, is right in front of you, then what you actually have is evidence. It may be overwhelming evidence, but until you can see it with your own eyes, and even then, a top secret stash of UFO files has allegedly been uncovered following the death of a senior cybersecurity official at Los Alamos National Laboratory. This article is written by Liam Randall and Brigid Brown, dated April 19th, 2026. A classified cache of UFO documents has reportedly been discovered following the death of a senior cybersecurity official at one of America's most secretive nuclear facilities. The explosive files, allegedly containing internal correspondence, scientific research, and unsettling photographs, were located among the personal belongings of the former official at Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico. The facility is globally recognized as the site where the atomic bomb was developed, but it has been shadowed by UFO folklore and reports of strange green fireballs since the 1940s, reports Daily Star. The find was made by the official's son, known only as Johnny, while he was going through his deceased father's possessions. Concealed among ordinary items were documents labeled atmospheric anomalies. Investigative filmmaker Jeremy Corbell, who examines the story in his new documentary Sleeping Dog, describes the magnitude of the discovery as extraordinary. Speaking to the Daily Mail, he stated, "This is a real scientific study at the classified level within our military of UFOs." Corbell maintains the documents reveal a paper trail of high-level government meetings and extensive investigations into alien propulsion technology. He stated Los Alamos was always a place where there were elements of the study of the UFO phenomena. These documents are 100% proof that Los Alamos was taking it very seriously. The hall allegedly contains a treasure trove of evidence that spans decades of unexplained aerial activity. According to Corbell, the collection allegedly includes a wealth of evidence covering decades of unexplained aerial phenomena. According to Corbell, the collection contains everything from original Polaroids documenting analyzed UFO cases throughout history to internal memos recording the high-level government meetings where anomalies were discussed. The documents also reported to contain Russian intelligence files detailing sightings over the Soviet Union, along with technical sketches and elaborate drawings of saucer-shaped craft, cylinders, and crop circles. One particular document, labeled Illustrations and Photos by the Gulf Breeze Witness, allegedly chronicles the well-known Florida sightings that occurred between 1987 and 1991. The records describe enormous 120-foot-wide silent disk emitting red and green lights. The cybersecurity expert's son allegedly grasped the significance of his father's covert work almost instantly. Corbell stated, "This kid, after his dad passed away, starts going through and realizes, Oh, this is some heavy stuff. Corbell dedicated years to authenticating documentation, even locating scientists mentioned in reports. He maintains many were shocked to discover their names connected to such classified research. He stated, I know some of the scientists personally. They've never told me that they did these studies on UFOs. While doubters persist, Corbell maintains the discovery proves that the U.S. government has been working covertly for years. However, he cautioned that revealing such evidence carries risk. He stated there have been some situations that give everybody pause. Whistleblowers have been squeezed. While Corbell acknowledges the documents may not shock veteran researchers, he maintains they provide the definitive proof required to demonstrate the government is monitoring objects that violate known physical laws. The complete contents of the cache will be disclosed in the documentary Sleeping Dog, helmed by Michael Lazar, which premieres on May 12th. That's interesting. It kind of gives you an idea there what this movie is coming up about. You have I think the main plot's going to be about Jeremy and his journey to becoming a UFO investigator, and then the subplot of him finding these files, which he claims are classified. Now, I don't know at what level they're classified, if they're currently classified, just what you would say about this. Very interesting stuff.